What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we're going over the players that I love and hate this week. I'm really excited to make this video just because this is the sort of content that I enjoy researching the most. I enjoy partaking in. I take all of these props. If you're on Underdog, you got to make them as part of parlays. If you're on DK, you can just take them straight up. But this is what I enjoy doing the most every single week. Of course, I love season-long fantasy, but this is really, really fun to me. If you don't like doing this, just treat this as an extension of a start-sit video. Basically, like, you got to realize that, like, if I love the over on a player, guess what? I think they should be in your starting lineup in a like a season-long league. So even if you don't want to take these props on Underdog, even if you don't want to bet them on DK, this is easily translated into a start-sit video for all of these players. This is not going to be a complete list. I'm going to go over a lot of players in this one and my reasoning behind them. But if you want even more content, maybe you want some spreads, over-unders, all that stuff, you can see a complete list of the player props that I would bet, as well as my answer to every single start-sit question, all just over at the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And if you really like some of these props and you want to put them into a parlay, you've only got a few days left to use that promo code. We've been talking about it all off season. Promo code FFA when you're signing up for a new account on Underdog is a $25 deposit bonus. That ends on Monday. So if you're watching this video, I don't know why you'd watch this video after week one. We're talking about week one players here. But if you were planning on partaking in that and you wait until like Tuesday, Wednesday, your bonus is going down to $10. So act now if you really want to join Underdog. I think it's really fun. I'm going to be taking these prompts, putting them into parlays. And so I'll be doing it. I think you guys should do it as well. So it's promo code FFA. Make a $10 deposit. You can get a $25 deposit bonus. So we'll get into my love-hate list in a second, but first, have to start things off as usual this side of the day. Yesterday's stat, we talked about the preseason, and we said that Ramondre Stevenson just like crushed it in the preseason. Said who was second though. So we said he crushed it. He had like 58 fantasy points and half PPR scoring in the preseason. Who had the second most fantasy points? Answer was JaMychal Hasty, and that was honestly part of the reason that Wayne Gallman ends up getting cut. He goes over, of course, to the Atlanta Falcons, was because Hasty was just performing so well in the preseason. They figured they had to keep him. So JaMychal Hasty was the second highest scoring running back in half PPR scoring this preseason. I don't know who's going to win that because I have to record both of these videos on Thursday, but I'll try to pin it in the comment section for who wins. Today's stat, we're just going to the opposite for wide receiver. I don't even remember. It was Davian Davis on Cleveland. I don't even know who that is, but apparently he was the number one scoring wide receiver in the preseason. Who was number two? Who was the second highest scoring wide receiver in fantasy in the preseason half PPR scoring? All right, so again, even if you're not into props, this is a love-hate list for start sits as well, and we're going to start off. Kyle Pitts, over 40.5 receiving yards. I know that Pitts is a rookie. I know that this is his first start. But this line is simply too low. This is a great game environment. I think the total is a little bit too low in Vegas. I think this should be one of the higher scoring games of the week. And you always want to attack spots where it's a high scoring game on a condensed offense, right? Because if Tampa Bay has a very high scoring team, every single one of their games is probably going to be close to or over a 50-point total, which is a lot. But literally 10 players could have a reception on Tampa Bay. And so it's not a condensed offense. If we're looking at the Falcons, at least this week from what we're expecting in week one, it's Ridley, Gage, Pitts, and Davis. That's like where we'd expect most of the production to go. So unless Calvin Ridley has, 200 receiving yards, like they're going to use Pitts. They placed him in just like bubble wrap this preseason. They gave him basically a few snaps. It was that one designed look. They're going to get him the ball. It's going to be on screens, on bootlegs, on play action, but they're just going to figure out ways to just get the ball into his hands and let him do work after the catch. And so I understand the hesitancy with starting a rookie tight end in fantasy in his first start, or taking the over on a rookie tight end in their first start, but it's so clear that he's going to be such a large part of this offense. and they need him to produce. This isn't something where it's like, well, we've got other guys we can throw in there. Let's just bring him along as he learns the offense. They got to play him because they don't have anyone else that they can feature in this offense behind Ridley. Again, I think Gage is good, and I think they'll throw the ball to Mike Davis, but they need other weapons, and I do believe that Pitts is going to have a lot of production even early in the season. Philly's going to put up points too, and I doubt that Atlanta wants to run the ball a ton with Davis and Gallman, who we talked about at the start of this video. So I'm expecting multiple plays where they're specifically looking to get Pitts the ball. And given that it only takes probably 3 receptions for him to hit the over, we're not asking for 100 yards. I'm asking for 41 receiving yards. I don't know. I'm taking the over on this one, and so I think you should as well. Diontae Johnson, over 56.5 receiving yards. This is low. The line on Diontae Johnson is too low. Maybe people think that Tre'Davious White is going to be shadowing him. I expect White to be on Claypool, to not really see Johnson as much. And even when people talk about shadow corners, it's there are very few, maybe 1 or 2 every year that completely follow someone. You're still going to get plays where you're not facing a team's top corner. And it's not like you're getting a target on every single drop back because you're not getting 40, 50 targets in games. And I expect a lot of pass attempts in this one. I expect Diontae Johnson to be the number 1 receiver on Pittsburgh. And if their number 1 receiver is not hitting 57 receiving yards, then they're getting absolutely crushed. I'm thinking the over on 5.5 receptions, the over on the 56.5 receiving yards. I mean, he had double-digit targets in 11 of the 12 games last season when he played at least 80% of the snaps. So when he wasn't benched or he wasn't injured, all those other games, 11 of 12, he had double-digit targets. If he gets that in this one, he's going over on the receptions, over on the receiving yards. I think that he's going to be the focal point of this passing game this week, and so I'm taking you over there. I think I also like Najee Harris's receiving plus rushing yardage prop. I don't remember what it is, but season-long fantasy is starting both of them. I like the over on their props as well on these different platforms. James Robinson, over 89.5 rushing plus receiving yards. This is a smash spot for Robinson. I put a lot on the line when it first came out at 2.5 points for the Jaguars. So that would mean that Houston would have to either win the game or not lose by 3. I guess I should have said that the other way. The Jaguars need to win the game, and it needs to be by at least 3 points. That's how you read those lines. I put a lot on that one because I don't understand it. Houston is awful. They're such a bad team, and I think the Jaguars are going to be good. I think they're going to be a quality offense. I trust Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. And I think if you're thinking about this game, you're the coaching staff of the Jaguars, right? People a lot of time talk about rookie quarterbacks and they say, okay, well, maybe they don't start him right away if there's a tough matchup. We're talking about Justin Fields. Maybe people say Justin Fields is going to start week 1 because they're playing the Rams and they don't want to have him be crying in the locker room after getting absolutely dominated by them. We'll let Dalton be terrible, and then week 2 we'll start Justin Fields. That's a narrative I see people throw around. I don't really believe it 100%, but even if you believe that narrative, you also have to believe the narrative that wouldn't you want to get this rookie quarterback going? Wouldn't you want them to just be crushing it on offense, to just dominate this team in week 1 to build their confidence, right? And if you're playing the worst team in the NFL, that's a way to do it, especially when their defense is so bad. And that's good for Robinson because I think they're just going to keep their foot on the gas. They're going to keep going. They're going to play fast. They're going to put up points. And I think that he's going to have a ton of production in the first half, both rushing and receiving. I think they're going to use him in the receiving game. Then they're going to get up, I think, by a lot of points, and they're going to use him in the second half when it's okay, we don't need to keep our foot on the pedal because we're up by so many points. I don't understand the line. Again, it's only 2.5 points, so maybe I'm wrong here. But no matter what you think, if you think that happens, you think the line stays at 2.5 and that's what happens in the game, no matter what, James Robinson's on the field and he's getting touches. And I think 89.5 is too low of a line if you're combining rushing and receiving. Again, I talked about this in the start-sit video yesterday, but they're returning all 5 offensive lineman starters. They are facing one of the worst, probably the worst defensive lines in the league. It's a smash spot for Robinson. Start him in every format. Get him to your lineups on DFS and take the over. really in on him this week. Damien Harris, over 67.5 rushing yards. This is a very clear spot for the Patriots to attack on the ground. They are home favorites. They have a top 5 offensive line. This is Mac Jones' first start in the NFL. And the best area to attack the Dolphins is against their defensive line because they're very strong at corner, but they're attackable on the ground. And so do the Patriots, who are a team that has an offensive philosophy of we're going to run the football behind our offensive line and our great running backs, and then we will use that to set up play action. We will use that to complement the passing game, but we're not going to come out here and throw the ball 45 times in week 1 against a really good pass defense. Because, like, especially in Mac Jones' first start, do you want him throwing a ton against a really good passing defense with, like, Nelson Aguilar out there? I mean, I like Jacoby Myers. I like their tight ends, but let's be honest. The Patriots don't have, like, elite wide receivers, right? It's basically just Jacoby Myers. Behind him, it's, again, Aguilar and then, like, Kendrick Bourne. That's not that great. And so they want to put themselves in the best position to win the game and also not destroy the confidence of Mac Jones. And the best way to do that is, again, behind your fantastic offensive line, utilizing your running backs. I think Damien Harris has 20 to 22 carries in this one. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards and a score, and so 67.5, definitely too low of a line. Next one, over on Keenan Allen. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised on this one, 57.5 receiving yards. He hit that mark in 7 of 11 healthy games last season when Justin Herbert was also the quarterback. So we're just looking at last season. He hit that a lot. I think people are hesitant on this one, maybe even starting him in week 1. I think if you've got Keenan Allen, you're starting him for sure because of the matchup. But it's not as bad as people think. Like, Houston has a really, really good pass rush, right? That defensive line, that front 7 is like really, really good. Their corners are less good. Their defensive backs are less good. And so that's the one weak area on this team. And if you think about a game script where it's like, okay, you're Justin Herbert, you're this offensive coordinator. You've got this incredible pass rush coming at you. So you're going to have to get the ball out quick, right? So you're not trying to take a bunch of deep shots with Mike Williams. You're much more likely to just be like, okay, let's get plays on offense that are designed to get the ball out fast. And the best way to do that is with the running back, Austin Eckler, and with a guy like Keenan Allen who can win very quickly off the line of scrimmage. This one has a little bit of bonus because, again, as of recording this, I don't know the status of Austin Eckler. He missed practice on Thursday with a hamstring. If he were to miss this game, Keenan Allen is going to have like 10 plus receptions. He's going to easily go over this receiving yardage mark. So you've got that baked into this take. But then even beyond that, I just think that those two, even if Eckler's healthy, get so much of the production on this offense, especially in this matchup. And it's a game you could see shooting out. Now, the total is very low, but what if Justin Herbert's just good? And what if they just put up a lot of points on offense and then Fitz is forced to be aggressive? He can put up points. This could be back and forth. But I think at the very least, you're going to attack the Washington football defense with quick passes, and that's with Keenan Allen. And so I don't understand why the receiving yardage prop is so low. Two hates for you. Again, I like doing loves more. I like taking overs. I like liking players. I like researching players in good spots, not in bad spots. But I'll give you two. One is Jarvis Landry, under 56.5 receiving yards. He hit the over on this only 5 out of 15 games last season. And I believe the prop is so high because most people assume, oh, this is a wide receiver going up against Kansas City. Kansas City is projected to win this game. And so even if Landry doesn't get there in the first half, they're going to be forced to throw in the second half, and so the production will be there. But as our guy, JM, over at the 1 week season, I think that everyone should be looking at the 1 week season's content. He has harped on this like over the years, and it's always true. Kansas City is really good against wide receivers. And the public thinks that they're going to be bad against them because their offense is so good. And so it's a clear area for us to just take the under on all of the receivers going up against Kansas City and to try not start them in fantasy, especially when they are in Arrowhead, right? Kansas City allowed the third fewest receptions to wide receivers, the second fewest yards last season. In 2019, they allowed the fewest receptions, second fewest receiving yards to wide receivers. they've been elite. And yet every single week, people want to just take a bunch of their wide receivers in fantasy and DFS and on DraftKings Underdog. It's like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be taking the under. You should be benching them because they're really good at limiting their production, especially at home. That is a very difficult place to go and play in. And so, I mean, I wouldn't be starting Jarvis Landry, and I'd be taking the under on 56.5 receiving yards. The last under we're going to take here is TJ Hockenson, 59.5 receiving yards. I think a lot of people are going to smash the over in this one. That's why I think the line has been bet up, because not only is he like, the only real receiving threat as far as the wide receivers and tight ends are concerned, but also Swift might be limited. They're also going to be trailing in this one. But as I said when I went over this game from the running back perspective on Friday, I expect the 49ers to crush it in this game, to be really, really productive, especially on the ground. And that means in the second half, I expect them to be winning, to be running it pretty much every single play, and to be just draining the clock. I mean, they might have, drives that last half a quarter. And that's going to limit the offensive plays for the Lions. And then you look at the 49ers, they're a smart defense, they're a strong defense. Well, what do you think they're going to do? You're the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. Who are you guarding? It's only Swift and Hockenson. That's all they can do on offense. And if Swift's not even on the field sometimes, it's Hockenson. You just assign more defensive pressure to the middle of the field. You could double Hockenson if you wanted to, but just have a lot of defenders in that general area. Take Hockenson out of the game. What are they going to do on offense? And so when you consider that, a difficult matchup in general, it's really tough being a tight end against the 49ers in recent seasons, mixed in with limited offensive plays. Like, if I don't think they're going to run that many plays, like, that is a really, really, really bad spot for TJ Hockenson. And so I would be taking the under on this, because I think people are betting the over, assuming that they're going to have to throw a lot in the second half and assuming he's the only guy in the offense. But it's a really, really bad spot for him. So I would take the under. You probably have to play him in fantasy, let's be honest, just because you probably don't have a better option. But if you took Hockenson and then say like Jonnu Smith, or you took like Logan Thomas, or you went two quality tight ends, maybe you consider going with those other options, because I don't think Hawkinson's going to have a good week. But, if he's the only tight end, don't be dropping a bench option to pick some scrub up off free agency to start over Hockenson. If he's your only guy, you got to be playing him. So that'll do it for this one. Let me know if you like this style of video. This is content that I personally really enjoy making, and so I hope you guys got something out of it. Remember that you can answer any of your start-sit questions easily by just looking at my rankings on our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And if you want a ton more props, more over-unders, spread, money lines, all of that, you can also see that under the betting tab on the website. But that, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, then how about hitting that like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.